He sent over 1 million people to their deaths at Auschwitz. He watched them march to the gas chambers. He improved the killing process to make it faster. And in 1947, the man who built the largest death factory in history was brought back to die in the very place he once commanded. Rudolf Höss would be hanged just steps away from the crematorium, the same crematorium that burned the bodies of his victims. This is how that execution happened. Rudolf Höss was born in 1901 in Germany. As a boy, he was raised Catholic. His parents wanted him to become a priest, but war changed everything. At just 15 years old, Höss fought in World War I. When Germany lost, he returned home angry and bitter. He joined violent political groups, and by the 1920s, he found a new belief system, the Nazi Party. Höss rose quickly through the ranks of the SS. He was loyal. He followed orders without question. And in 1940, Heinrich Himmler gave him a new assignment. He would command a small camp in Poland, a former army barracks. The name of this place was Auschwitz. Under Höss, Auschwitz grew. It transformed from a prison camp into something far worse. He personally introduced a new killing method, a poison gas called Zyklon B. It could kill hundreds of people in minutes. By the time he left in 1943, over 1 million people had been murdered there. But the war was ending, and Höss knew what that meant for men like him. When Germany surrendered in 1945, Höss vanished. He shaved his head, changed his name, found work as a farmhand in northern Germany. For months, he hid in plain sight. He thought he had escaped. He was wrong. British military police were hunting Nazi war criminals, and they had a lead. Someone close to Höss had talked. Some accounts say it was his own wife. She gave up his location. In March 1946, British soldiers surrounded the farm. They found Höss hiding in a barn. When they questioned him, he denied everything, but the soldiers already knew who he was. They beat him until he confessed. Höss was taken to Nuremberg. There, he testified as a witness. He described the killings at Auschwitz in cold, calm detail. He spoke about gassing thousands of people as if discussing factory production. Then Poland demanded him. They wanted to put him on trial for what he did on their soil. In early 1947, Höss stood before a Polish court in Warsaw. The evidence was overwhelming. He did not deny his crimes. He admitted to everything. The court sentenced him to death. But where would the execution happen? The answer would be unlike anything before. Polish authorities made a powerful decision. Höss would not die in a prison yard. He would not be executed in some distant city. Instead, he would be hanged at Auschwitz itself. The exact spot was chosen with purpose. The gallows would stand beside the crematorium at Auschwitz I. This was the original camp, the place where the first prisoners were burned. It was a message. Justice would return to the scene of the crime. For survivors, this mattered deeply. The man who built the death factory would die inside it. The place that witnessed so much suffering would now witness something else: accountability. Workers began constructing the gallows, a simple wooden frame, a platform with a trap door, a single rope. It stood in the shadow of the crematorium's brick chimney, the same chimney that once filled the sky with smoke and ash. Now it would watch Höss fall. In the days before his execution, Höss was held in a Polish prison. He knew his time was short. Guards watched him constantly. There would be no escape. During these final days, something shifted in Höss. He asked for a priest. He returned to the Catholic faith he had abandoned decades ago. He wrote letters to his wife and children. In one letter, he expressed regret. He wrote that he finally understood the horror of what he had done. He asked God for forgiveness. Was he sincere, or was he simply afraid of death? No one can say for certain. He also wrote a final statement. In it, he took full responsibility for the murders at Auschwitz. He admitted he was guilty. On the morning of April 16, 1947, guards came for him. They put him in a car. A priest sat beside him. Together, they drove toward the camp. As the car approached Auschwitz, Höss saw the familiar gates, the watchtowers, the barbed wire fences. He had passed through these gates many times before, as the commandant, as the man in charge of life and death. This time, he entered as a condemned man. The morning was cold. Gray clouds covered the sky. Inside Auschwitz, a small group waited near the gallows. Polish officials, military guards, a doctor, journalists, and survivors. Men and women who had lived through the horrors of this place stood watching. They had lost families here, friends, everything. Now they would witness the end of the man responsible. Höss was brought to the camp and briefly held in Block 11. Prisoners had called this building the Death Block. It was where the Nazis tortured and executed inmates. Now Höss sat inside its walls, waiting. He was given a small breakfast, a cup of tea, a final confession with the priest. Then the time came. Guards led him out of the building. He walked across the camp grounds, past the barracks, past the fences, toward the gallows. Witnesses said he walked slowly but steadily. His face showed little emotion. His body was thinner than before, his skin is pale. He climbed the wooden steps to the platform. The executioner stood ready. The rope hung above. Around him, the camp was silent. Only the wind moved through the barbed wire. This was the moment. A Polish official stepped forward. He read the court's sentence aloud. The charges, the crimes, the punishment, death by hanging. Höss listened without expression. Then came the question, did he have any final words? Höss shook his head. Some witnesses say he whispered a short prayer. Others say he remained completely silent. The guards positioned him on the trap door. The executioner placed the noose around his neck. He tightened the thick rope. The knot sat just below his left ear. This placement was deliberate. When the door opened, the fall was meant to break his neck. The priest made the sign of the cross. At exactly 10 o'clock in the morning, the executioner pulled the lever. The trap door swung open. Höss dropped. The rope snapped tight. His body jerked once. Then stillness. Witnesses said there was no struggle, no prolonged suffering. Death came within minutes. A doctor stepped forward. He checked for a pulse. He examined the body. Then he made the official announcement. Rudolf Höss was dead. The man who had sent over 1 million people to their deaths had finally met his own, in the same place, beside the same crematorium. After the execution, guards lowered the body. They placed Höss in a plain wooden coffin. No ceremony, no honor. Polish authorities never revealed where they buried him. Some believe his remains were placed in an unmarked grave near Auschwitz. Others say his body was cremated, the ashes scattered in secret. This was intentional. There would be no grave for supporters to visit, no memorial, no shrine. Höss would disappear, just like the ashes of his victims. But the gallows remained. Today, visitors to Auschwitz still see it. The simple wooden frame stands beside the old crematorium. People pause before it. They take photographs. They stand in silence. It remains as a reminder that even those who commit unimaginable evil can be held accountable. Rudolf Höss was one of the few Nazi leaders executed at the scene of his crimes, but he was not the last commandant of Auschwitz. Other men ran the camp after him. Other men continued the killing. Some escaped justice completely. Some lived quiet lives for decades, free. One of them hid in plain sight for over 30 years. He worked a normal job, raised a family. No one suspected a thing until someone recognized his face.